So this is one of a series of panels called the Gen Con Retrospective panels. And so in honor of it being Gen Con 50, we decided to curate a series of panels covering topics that go back over the last 50 years of tabletop gaming. This is not, there's a lot we missed. There's only 17 panels, and there should have been like 100, but we only had so much time and budget. So, and for this particular panel, what I wanted to do was kind of celebrate, I think, a group of companies and people that don't get nearly the credit and adulation that they deserve. You know, we always bring in the game designers and the artists. You know, but come on, we love all the things that go with our games. You know, we love the dice, we love the scenics, we love the merchandise, we love the lifestyle. We want to support our favorite brands by wearing them on T-shirts and all this stuff. And so I decided to organize a panel with 4 people that I knew really well who've been doing this for many years, and try and get some people in here and really talk about some of these stories. Because believe it or not, these people have as good a stories as any of those game designers. They do.
We got better stories than them.
So let's go down the line, and if you could each introduce yourselves for me, and just kind of a little bit about what you've done in this industry, sort of the quick bullet point list, and create some context so everybody knows who you are.
My name is Lou Zocchi. May I see a show of hands of all the people who know who I am? And can I see a show of hands of all the people who don't know who I am? And a show of hands from all the people who don't give a damn? I designed the Luftwaffe game for Avalon Hill, and I've designed a lot of air-to-air combat games that have won awards. I'm also probably best known for having invented the 100-sided dice.
Woo! The Zocchihedron.
Yeah. And I've also invented a 3, a 5, a 14, a 16, and 2 24-sided dice as well.
Lou Zocchi, legend. I mean, this guy is a legend in our industry. We could have a whole panel on Lou Zocchi, but we decided we'd make him share the spotlight a little bit. All right, Michael.
My name is Michael Bowling. I'm the owner of Crystal Cast. This is my 20th year in the business, 20th year at Gen Con. I'd like to think that since I've come along, people have started making dice out of all sorts of materials that we sort of
Pioneered.
Yes, thank you. We've made them out of fossils. Well, the first thing I did was I came up with a new geometric shape. For 2,000 years, polyhedrals have been the same polyhedral shape. I was the one that elongated it along a horizontal axis and created a sort of a crystalline shape, and that's why I named the company Crystal Cast. I've been doing it for 20 years, and like everyone else, I really enjoy this industry. I enjoy the people. It has the most nicest, honest people in any sort of segment of society, except maybe a NRA meeting. A armed society is a polite society.
You know I'm from Seattle, right?
Yeah. No, I'm just saying that they're nice people. But I've enjoyed a good 20 years in this industry, and I'm honored that Peter asked me to share a table with these others. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I'm Barbara Vantilberg with Off-World Designs. We've been doing T-shirts in gaming and science fiction conventions, all kinds of fandoms since the 80s. Ray Vantilberg, who designed our fabulous tribal Gen Con shirts for the last many years. I don't know how many we're on so far, is out there in the audience. Thanks, Ray.
Wave your hand, Ray.
Hey!
So he's how I got into the industry. I married into it, and I've been going to conventions and making and selling T-shirts at different cons for almost 30 years now. And Gen Con's been a really important part of our family story.
What, do you go to like 2, 3, 4 shows a year?
Kathy's dying. She used to work for us. We go to more like 50.
50 shows in 1 year.
A year.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Not personally, but sometimes we'll have 3 or 4 on a weekend, and my team divides to conquer, and it's really like a death march between San Diego Comic-Con to the end of Dragon Con. But now we've got New York Comic-Con, but our Gen Con is probably, without a doubt, it is our favorite. It's the people that get us.
Big dance.
So it is the big dance, and we've been dancing nonstop since Monday. So
Wow.
I gotta get your number, so I can know what con to go to next. I mean, you're the one that knows. Jesus, 50. I didn't know there existed 50 cons, a year.
our convention schedule's on our website.
All right.
So, yes, by the way, everybody, these mics are really good. You don't need to
Lean
swallow them. Yeah, you can just lean back, talk normal.
You can hear me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, it's good because it's your turn. So, yeah.
Oh, I'm Stefan Pokorny, and I started in 1996, a year before Michael.
Yep.
And I remember when you came along, and you brought your crazy dice, and I was like, wow, I've never seen anything like that, Plus, he's good at drinking too. So, we do a lot of hanging out here too, some of us.
But what do you make?
Huh?
What do you make?
Well, besides drinking, I'm known for doing 3-dimensional dungeons. Have you heard of Dwarven Forge? It's the 3D dungeons. Thank you. And I started off as an artist and a gamer. I've been gaming since I was like 12 years old. But I never came to Gen Con. I grew up in New York City, so I was like in my own, I wasn't a Midwestern person. And believe it or not, there were kids in New York playing Dungeons and Dragons. So I didn't know anything about this whole culture or any of this until 96 when I got a little 10-foot by 10-foot booth, and I brought my dungeons, and we sold out in like 4 hours. And there was like 3-4 days left, right? So we took people's names down, and we did something innovative at the time. We took people's emails down because it was like, wow, we can email you. And now we have 70, 100,000 people. I don't know how many. It's bursting at the seams. I've watched it grow, coming from Milwaukee to Indiana. Incredible thing. I love it. And what was I saying?
I think that's good.
All right, it's good. Hey.
Good. You'll get another turn. So.
I was starting to ramble on there, right?
No, you're doing fine, Ron. You're doing fine. We're going to put you back in just a moment. Well, let's, Lou, you've been with us for the longest. You've seen Gen Con grow from over the edges. When was your first Gen Con?
Well, it was in Horticulture Hall.
Wow, that's what I thought.
And most of the vendors were out in the backyard, and there was, the lucky ones, like myself, had a roof over where we were, so if it would rain, our stock wouldn't get destroyed. The other half were out there playing for dry weather. And because there was no formal break time for dinner or anything, Mrs. Gygax was cooking hot dogs and hamburgers all day long, and her children would come around with the food, and they also had bottles of Elf cola to drink, or soda to drink, which, like, boy, that saved us all because nobody had brought a lunch. We weren't thinking about nourishing while we were out there working.
Do you know about what year that was? Well,
No,
if it's in Holder
no.
Cultural Hall, it had to
Yeah.
be in late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, by the way, I don't know if you know, we have a Gen Con 50 museum. Have you guys seen it? Good for you. The rest of you guys seen it. It's over in the football stadium, Lucas Oil Field, right on the 50-yard line, celebrating 50 years of tabletop gaming history.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, so I recommend you get over there. Yeah, it's good. And we built the museum in the same size as Horticulture Hall. Have you seen it, Luke?
Yes.
There's a portico, there's a replica of the Horticultural Hall entrance from the original Lake Geneva. That's good. So, hey, Michael. Yeah.
Yes.
So, this dice made out of rare materials. Where'd you get that idea?
Well, we're out of Tucson, and Tucson is the home of the world's largest gem and mineral show. And so I've been growing up around a lot of minerals and that sort of thing, exotic things from around the world. And so early on in Crystal Cast history, once we got the line established, I knew that dice were, well, just real quick story.
Yeah, go.
When I was in college.
I'm just trying to keep you guys going.
Yeah,
so
when I was
anything you can go on your own.
Yep, when I was in college, I had a gaming group. I had some guys that promised me a poker game, and they did the old bait and switch. I showed up, and it was a D&D game, and so I wasn't interested in doing it. But they said, just try it. Okay, I tried it, and I got hooked the first night. Boy, we were because I was the guys were a bunch of math tutors that I worked with. We were all in college, and they were creative, imaginative people, and I fit in pretty good, and it was just a magical event. And until you've gamed, role play games, you just really don't realize how magical it is, how powerful your mind is. And so we would every Friday night, the guys would get paid. We'd go down to the local game shop, and I remarked to the old fellow that was running the game shop. I said, all these games, all you need is 7 dice to play a game, but all these guys with me got bags of games. And he said, I'll tell you something, kid. Dice sales are what keeps my lights on. And that resonated with me. That really struck a chord. And so as I gamed, I started thinking, they made polyhedral dice bigger, they made them smaller, but they had never made them from a different shape. And so that's what started me on the path to design. And then once I began designing them, I noticed I was trying to think outside the box. What's the next barrier to go to? And I noticed everybody made their dice out of acrylic. No one made them out of anything else. So I got this idea of making them out of semi-precious gemstones. And I talked to several people close to me. I said, hey, I'm thinking about moving into this area of and 201, they all said, oh, that's not a good idea. Don't do that. It don't sound good. And I joke with my father a lot because my father says, well, I don't know, son. I don't know if that's a good idea.
Mine too. Mine does the same thing.
Yeah. But I barged ahead, and now you can't swing a dead cat without seeing someone who's trying to make dice out of stone like we do. Everyone's doing it. But that's what got us started, was just, again, trying to think beyond. Yeah.
Great. Good. Barbara.
Yeah, the whole can't swing a dead cat without seeing somebody doing it. You used to have to come to a con to get a good nerdy t-shirt. And now, Target and Walmart have their nerdy t-shirt departments in every store. But we were we were first on the block with it. We were in there going to all the cons from the 80s on, making cool things.
So something that seems obvious now to me, but I didn't realize until I was having drinks with you and Ray in Big Bar on 2 in Origins, was obviously to be so successful in the merchandising business, you have to be good at art.
Yeah.
And you have a secret weapon.
I do. Really, Ray should be up here instead of me, but we're like two halves of one brain that make this work. He does the art, and I keep him from starving. So.
But Ray's been doing. I learned in talking with you. Has been doing art for many years. Did art for TSR and has done. And in fact, you guys might have noticed that some stuff was sneaking in on those tables back there. You might be wondering what it's for. Well, you're gonna have to wait. But when this panel is over, there might be some gifts in store, and some of it might be art that Ray did, right?
This is true.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Something to look forward to.
So I have a story going
Please.
back to TSR days, and I brought a prop. Anybody that was going to Gen Con in Milwaukee remembers the castle and everything. Our booth was right behind the castle, and shirts with different things having sex on the shirt were very popular at that moment. So no one had done dragons. So Ray did a dragon shirt. We put Stoking the Fire on it. And we had this shirt. I think, what's the date on it? Oh, it's an oldie. 94. And a bunch of people, someone was saying, you shouldn't have that for sale at Gen Con. And a bunch of suits came with Lorraine Williams to the CEO of TSR at the time to make the determination, could we or could we not sell this shirt? And she said yes, and we sold out that weekend. And that was wonderful.
Nice.
Yeah.
But
I'm sorry, but why couldn't you sell dragons at Gen Con?
well,
It's dirty.
Oh, wow. Oh, I didn't look closely at it. All right.
yeah,
Pass it around.
Yeah.
yeah,
Here,
sure.
start it here. Mess around now. Oh, come on, dude.
I got a good look at it.
Oh, there you go. Oh, yeah. Oh. Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, pass that around. That's a good
Wow.
idea.
Yeah, had to look twice. Wow.
And just real quick, this is what a thin shirt that was printed and airbrushed by hand looks like after, I don't remember what year this was done, but long time. And my son wore this until it's paper thin. But
Like favorite shirts do.
it's a favorite shirt. Here's,
And here's one of my all-time favorites. I wore that one.
yes.
I remember that one, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Gen Con 35, it should have been, I was a slacker, I apologize, but, so 15 years ago, this tells you who the sponsors were for Gen Con. Way back in the day, we got Wizards of the Coast and Paizo and Microsoft, ITT, Block Party sponsor,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's something about that shirt. It was really popular. My dad wore that shirt a lot. I wore that shirt a lot. I wore it till it was too thin, and one of my wives threw it out.
It was an unusual color.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was,
I've seen you in videos wearing that shirt.
yeah. Yeah, that was one of my favorites, too. It was like a pumpkin color.
Yeah. It was a pumpkin color.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something.
It was very loose fitting. It was very comfortable.
Yes.
Comfortable
It was,
shirt.
it was just a
It
nice
was very
shirt.
soft.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's because how many times we washed it. I don't know.
So Stefano, I know you're I know you're so well. We've been such good friends for so long. You know, I love.
Funny, we kind of met in New Jersey in some little convention, and bar in New
Well,
Jersey.
I think we bonded because we kept finding that we go to the same conventions. We'd always be like the last 2 or 3 drunks at the bar. You know, everybody else had gone off, and it'd be like, "Oh,
That's right.
it's you again."
Hey, man, let's hang out.
You know, and then we started like coordinating, like
Yeah.
which bar are you, which bar are you going to? Which party are you going to?
We're gonna be tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But let's, I think that what people need to know about you is that your tremendous background in really well-educated art. No, you're come on. You know, it's because you look like such a goofball all the time, you know?
I am a goofball.
This
Don't let the education fool you.
This man
I'm a goofball.
This man is a classically trained artist, trained under masters, and talk about that.
Speaking of that, I didn't really want to get into this business totally. I thought I was going to just be a fine artist, painting like Caravaggio or that kind of thing. I grew up in New York, and I was a bit of a hellraiser kind of, Got kicked out of school, and I wanted to quit school altogether, but my mother talked me into going to this school down the street called Art and Design High School on 57th Street and 2nd Avenue. I lived on 51st. And the only thing you like in school is art. You draw on your jeans, you draw on the tables, you draw on the walls. You're always kept after school erasing stuff with Ajax, And I think you should go to this drawing school and take that test. There's some test there to get in. And it was the middle of the year. I got kicked out. And they were like, no, we're not letting kids in. But my mother, who never gave up on me, talked them into it. I took a test, and they liked it. So next week, I was in school. And that's when the different world opened up for me. I was like, wow, I can go to school and draw? This is not even school. You could give me a grade? And so I went from F's to A's. And I was Erwin Greenberg, my painting teacher, really inspired me into making something out of my chaotic life. And so I thought that my calling was to be a painter, an artist. I went to went on to Hartford Art School, and got a master's degree in painting and all of that. I straightened myself out. But also along that way, my hobby when I wasn't painting was playing Dungeons and Dragons. And that always along the way kind of was there. So it was like I minored in Dungeons and Dragons, And I was, running games for all the kids in the dorm. I had everyone playing. I was drawing maps, constantly making dungeons. I didn't play any modules. I made my own dungeons. And once again, I never came to Midwest or Gen Con until later, so I never got into modules or knew anything about it. I was like in my own little cave, And but I wasn't making any money. After getting a master's degree and graduating pretty much at the top of the class and having all my paintings bought by my art teachers on my graduation show, I came to New York, and no gallery would show me. And for about 10 years, it was the period in art where all they showed was abstract art. And me being a realist in the line of old masters, figure drawing and painting and sculpture, they were like, hey, you're old-fashioned, that's passé. Here, you got to throw some of this on the wall. That should be art, Or here, put the urinal in the corner of the gallery. That's art. Not what you do. That's silly. Stop disrespecting women like that. Don't draw those naked women. They're naked. So I was, once again, wow, I spent all these years thinking this was going to be my thing, and then to be shot down. So I struggled and waited tables and bust tables and scooped ice cream and did assortment of jobs for a while. And then it dawned on me, I got a job painting little thingamajigs like lighthouses and things that people collect. They look in magazines, they buy like a Hasidah Head lighthouse, or what's it not baseball stadium? And I would be painting. I'd paint those. I became a painter for a company like that.
So that's a good place to pause this. We'll
Yes.
come back and talk about how you transitioned this into a whole new.
Sorry, I'm rambling on again.
It's being nice, you know?
Yeah.
Because I really want to hear this story from Lou. Lou told me, you've told me this story of how you solved the dice problem for TSR back in the, the 70s, for D&D, how you got into the dice business and some of the struggles. I mean, let's go back and back in time to, you know, it really
I was the first distributor for TSR. And I would call Gary and order 500 copies of Dungeons and Dragons. And if you didn't have dice for those 500 sets, you didn't sell them until you got dice for them. And we both ordered from the same source. It was a teacher's supply store in Palo Alto, California called Creative Publications. So if I ordered 500 games from Gary, I had to get on the phone right away and order up 500 dice sets. Otherwise, I had to wait a week for the next shipment to come in from Taiwan. And I kept after the guy that ran the company we were buying the dice from to find out, was there a way I could get a better price? You know, like, would you sell me a barrel of 4s and a barrel of 6s and a barrel of 8s, and I'll put them together myself? And he wrote me back and said, I'm fed up with your trying to get a better price. If you want a cheaper price for dice, make them yourself. So I was on active duty at the time, and I took leave to go home to Chicago to be with my mother. And while at home, I saw a fella. When I was in high school, we played in a band together, and this guy played accordion very, very well. And so when we were in high school, I was a business major, and he was a shop major. And when we graduated, he went on to become a tool and die maker. And so I was telling him the story about having trouble getting dice, and I showed him the package of dice that we were getting from Taiwan. And he said, well, you can forget about beating these people on price, because I pay my people $20 an hour and they pay their people $20 a week. So we can't beat them economically. But they're using the cheapest plastic available, and the edges are going to change color in short order, and they're going to get weird shapes to them. And I know a formula for a very high impact plastic that we could use for our dice, and they will soldier on year after year after year. So we can't beat them on price, but we could beat them on quality. So that's, then I gave him the money for a molding tool to make a 20-sided shape, and we molded it in this high impact plastic. And to my delight, there were a lot of gamers who knew that, you know, 6 months after they bought this set from Taiwan, they'd need to buy another set and a set after that, and so forth and so on. And they were willing to pay $1 a piece for the dice, because these dice wouldn't wear out. They would just keep going on and on and on. And so after we sold enough of the 20-sided shapes, then we made another shape and another shape and another shape. And the last one we made was a 6-sided dice, because you could get a 6-sided dice anywhere. And so that's how I came into the business. And then I kept putting out the word, you know, these dice are made from high impact plastic. Well, I had 6 distributor accounts who were taking my dice and selling them to their accounts as though they were the people that were manufacturing these dice. And so when TSR decided that they were going to make their own dice, because they wanted to keep all the money that was coming in from Dungeons and Dragons. So they went to one tool and die maker after another, and they got royally shafted. They lost more than $1 million trying to find a company to make polyhedra dice. And in the meantime, I had said to them, oh, they couldn't sell D&D with dice sets, so they gave out little cards that said, take this to your dealer and he'll give you a set of dice. But they didn't have any dice to back up the cards. So I said, let me honor all those cards, and you and I can work something out later. And they said, absolutely not. Those are going to be our sales, and we're not going to share it with anybody. So that was the end of that venture. And the story that I really like to tell is about Mike bowling. I went to a Gen Con, and I saw in the program book this full-page ad for a new dice. And earlier, I had designed the 100-sided dice, and I kept saying to myself, what else could I make? What kind of new shape could I do? Oh, I could make a dice shaped like a pencil, but that's stupid. Nobody's going to buy a pencil-shaped dice. That's a bad idea. I'll just let it go. So anyway, it turns out the doors for the convention open up and people run up to my table and they say, "You're the inventor of the 100-sided dice, right?" I said, "Yeah." "Then you got to be the genius who made this pencil-shaped dice, right?" I said, no, that's Crystal Cast. They're down in 242. "Oh, thanks." And as soon as they cleared the table, another batch would come to the table and say the same things. "Aren't you the genius that invented the 100? "Yeah." "Well, you also invented this pencil-shaped dice. What a magnificent idea. Why didn't we think of that? That's terrific." I said, no, I don't have that. That's down in 242. You got And day after day, the convention went like that. So the convention's over, and I'm packing up my stuff. And Mike comes up and he says, "I'm looking for Lou Zocchi." I said, "That's me." He said, "Well, I'm just here to thank you so much for the help you gave by sending all those people over to my booth." And I said, "Yeah, tell me, how did that come out?" He said, "First of all, I had my dice made in England. And I told the guy I wanted them numbered 0 through 9. And I ordered 5 different colors, and we got 10, I don't remember now, was it 10,000 copies of each?
Yeah, 2,000 each color.
2,000 of each color. And I said, "Oh, okay." And he said, then about a week before the show, the dice arrived. And I opened the boxes, and I looked inside, and I saw they were numbered 1 through 10. So I called England, and the guy answers the phone, and I got the dice, but they're numbered 1 through 10. "Yeah, matey, I knew you was making a mistake, so I corrected it for you."
That's so messed up.
Now, Mike's got a problem because he paid $1,000 for the table to sell these dice from, and he's got a $1,000 ad in the program book, and he can't get his money back from either one of those. And so he's got a 3-day drive from Arizona to Wisconsin, and the whole time he's driving, he's thinking, "Geez, I got these mismade dice. What am I going to do? And I got 10,000 of the darn things. This is terrible." So I said, "Yeah, that sounds awful. Well, what did you do?" He said, "Well, the first kid that walked up, I said to him, 'These are numbered 1 through 10, and they're experimentals. We're never going to do this again, so that's going to make these dice collector items.'" And the kid said, "Collector items? Jesus, I collect dice, and I got 3 friends who collect dice. How many colors have you got?" "So I'll take 15. "All right, give me 15 dice." And so it went like that through the whole convention. So then I'm asking, I said, "Well, wait a minute, I've got the only 100-sided dice in the world. I sold 25 at this show. How many did you sell?" He said, 10,000.
Oh, man.
So you're looking at a man who was facing complete disaster, and he turned it into the greatest triumph that I have heard about in a long time.
Michael, you're a good storyteller, Lou. Michael, you want to respond to this or elaborate or?
It was pretty much exactly how he told it. Growing up, my father had a lot of little businesses, and I used to go with him And so at this show, my father and my brother came to help me. And my father had a lot of little enterprises. But 20 minutes into the show, people were lined up just about like they were on Thursday when they were getting the commemorative sets. I mean, they were lined up, as 4 or 5 wide deep. And my dad turned around and looked at me, and he had money. I get a little emotional about this because it's a special moment. He had money folded between his fingers, making change. And he looked at me and he said, "Bob, I think you got a winner this time." So we sold all 10,000 at the show, and with the money from that, I made a D6 mold, and then the money from those two, I made the D20, and we just filled the line out. And then once we got the line filled out, we started looking for other. We started selling standard polyhedral dice as well, and just kind of kept moving into concentric circles, miniatures. Just we were all a bunch of gamers, as I said, and we would think of things that we would want to use, what we would like to see in the business, in the industry, and then we would go out and try to make that as best as we could. And the public always responded very well. One of the neatest things, I could go on forever. I've come up with a lot of different ideas, but one kind of cute idea was we were playing one night and we would fumble. And when someone would fumble, they go, "Doo!" like that. And we'd laugh, ha ha. And then later someone else would fumble, "Doo!" And I sat there thinking, man, if I had a nickel every time someone said "do," and I thought, wait a minute, why? And so I called my attorneys, my patent attorneys, and I said, find me if the word "do" has been patented or copyrighted, and it hadn't been. And so we came up with a die set where all the ones say "do" on it. Everybody just
way.
buys them up, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus. You're a genius, man.
Let me tell you one real quick thing. First Gen Con I came to, when I met Stefan, he had this his booth had like an awning on it, made like a mock blacksmith forge, and he had a soundtrack playing over and over of someone beating an anvil. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
You hear
Yeah. Yep. The forge.
And I just thought that was the neatest thing. I would go stand there and just look at it and listen to it, and I got to meet this guy.
I forgot about that.
I love that booth.
Wow.
It's really cool.
So Barbara, what you must have a good Gen Con story up your sleeve with this.
Well, I mean, my first Gen Con, I think we just came up to see it and check it out. And then the next time...
about what year is this, would you say?
Oh gosh, early 90s. We stayed in a room with a bunch of other artists. They would pack them in 4 to a room. You didn't necessarily know who you were going to be sleeping with. But fortunately, since we were a couple, at least one bed was secure. But yeah, there was a pack of artists, and TSR would let them share space if they had space in the art show, I think is how it went. But yeah.
Wow.
It was crazy. That's back when I used to get to, stay out late after con when you had young and had lots of energy.
Yeah.
When the day didn't start
remember
at
those days.
6 in the morning and end at midnight for us. And so we would go to the Safe House and, in Milwaukee.
The
And,
safe house.
yeah, we had a lot of fun.
What's the password?
So did it? You mentioned your earlier samples were all T-shirts. You're mentioning T-shirts, but now you do everything. I mean, what was the journey like to branching out from T-shirts to selling all sorts of types of merchandise?
Well, Ray and I were both working for other people when we got together, and it started with going to a Worldcon. He needed to put together some stock, and we went on a vacation together, and and sold T-shirts, and I was like, this could be a business. And he was already making it as a business, but so we did conventions on the side for a while, and then we got married, had kids, and I kept getting laid off every summer in June for 3 years in a row. I got laid off of middle management jobs. And so it's like, okay, I'll do the business. And then I stepped out on that branch, and it held me. So then he was able to quit. And every year for a while, you wonder if this is going to be the year that you have to get a real job. And haven't had to yet. So that's been good.
So, that's great.
Yeah.
All right, Stefano, you brought us up through this career in fine art, and and you found.
I was painting little lighthouses and Christmas trees, things like this, and I saw that that I would paint these little prototypes, and then they would go off and sell them in magazines, and I would talk to my boss a lot. I'd be like, what do you do with this, and where do you get this made, and whatnot, and I became the head painter there, and they really liked what I did. They would give me a blank thing and say, put the colors on it, and then I would make up some colors, and being a painter, I had an idea, what to do, and I had skill because I was painting miniatures, orcs and elves, and I remember when I went up for the job interview, I brought a case of miniatures. That was how I interviewed for the job, and they were blown away because no one has ever come up here and showed us actual 3-dimensional paintings for this job. They always bring 2-dimensional artwork. You're the first guy that ever brought anything like this, so I got the job. But I was there for a while, and then I finally figured out, well, I'm playing D&D every night, and but I don't have any walls. There are no walls. We're always playing on grids. We have these beautiful miniatures we can paint up, but we're just laying them on these grids, graph paper, or what are those, or dry erase board things, and I was tired of that, Damn it, I'm a sculptor. And I can sculpt something. And I said to my boss, I said, I play this game, Dungeons and Dragons. Do you know what that is? He's like, no, not really, but no, I know what it is. And I painted all these miniatures, blah, 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 and I sold him on the idea that I could come up with all these things. We could manufacture them using all the people and we'll get a booth at Gen Con. There's this show called Gen Con. We'll get a 10-foot by 10-foot booth, and we'll try to sell these modular dungeons. So I sculpted up some prototypes. I actually flew to England to work with a sculptor who was good at doing miniatures. Forgot her name, Hillary. And I stayed at her house. I was like, she sent me some prototypes of things she was good at sculpt. I didn't like them. I said, that's not good enough. Can I fly out there and stay at your house for a week, and we'll sculpt it together? And she agreed. I flew out to her house, stayed at her house. She had a husband, and we ate dinner, and I stayed there. And every morning we'd get up and we'd sculpt, and she taught me how to make this miniatures, because I was good at sculpting big figures, life-size figures and stuff, right? But these are miniatures. So there's all these techniques, like taking little rocks and pressing them against the wax to get texture. It was one of the things I learned. I was like, wow, And I made the prototypes, and like I said, so I got a partnership, got the 10-foot booth, sold out, and just went on like that now for 21 years.
Wow.
Did I cover it all?
No. You're doing great, Stefan. Good. Good. You stopped yourself this time.
I forgot what I was talking about.
That's also good. So, it gives me a chance to come back to Lou, because I know Lou's got so many great stories. I'm hoping try to get as many in here as I can. So, Lou, you are a wargamer from way back.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you've done many things in your career. And I used to play war games a lot as a kid. So you guys mind if I ask them a wargaming question? Nothing to do. Wargaming is all about simulating wars that have already happened. And I was curious to ask you, have you ever done it the other way around? Have they ever done a war game about a war that hasn't happened and used it to figure out what might happen?
The first one of those cases of which I am aware is a naval war game that was designed by a naval historian named Fletcher Pratt. And I think it was around 1938, they used the rules that he had written up for doing naval simulation warfare, and they put 3 cruisers against a German battleship, the Graf Spee. And in the game, the 3 cruisers managed to sink the Graf Spee. And all of the people who were playing this game were naval officers. And then they said at the end of it, well, that's just a game. Who's going to take that seriously? You know, must be something wrong with the rules, because that, you know, that German battleship's pretty powerful. And then I guess it was a year or 2 years later, the Graf Spee was in a conflict with 3 British cruisers, and then its captain was so demoralized about the way those cruisers had handled his ship, he sunk it in the harbor rather than come out and face them again. And then Strategy and Tactics magazine was a very successful publication, and in every issue they had a card that they wanted the readers to fill out and mail back to them, asking, what subject would you like us to see a game on? And time after time after time, people would reply they wanted to see an Arab-Israeli war game, because the politics in that time frame was pretty rocky, and it looked like they were going to get a battle going sooner or later. So they designed.
Glad we got past that.
They designed a game. They designed a game that portrayed Egypt and the Israelis having a battle, and they also put in the option of all the other Arab nations pitching in to gang up on the Israelis. And they took the game over to the printer, and 2 weeks later, the balloon went up, and this thing actually transpired. And 2 weeks after that, they had games in the marketplace. The game was called Sinai. And the amazing thing about it was their order of battle was right on the money for all of the belligerent forces. Now, you think if you're the commander of the Israelis, you don't want anybody to know how strong your army is. And if you're an an Arab, you know, you don't want the enemy to know beforehand. But everything that happened in the real battle happened in this game. And so I think, you know, score 1 for game design. What a wonderful piece of work that was to come off that well. And then a few years later, Mayfair Games did a Falkland Islands battle, which was fought in their game before the actual fighting went on in the Falkland Islands.
Wow. Did you
So-
make the dice for that?
No, I didn't. They just used 6-sided dice.
So I have I'm gonna do one more question same question for everybody on the panel, and then we'll have time for a couple of questions maybe from the audience, and wrap up. So I'm gonna start. So reflecting back over your careers, because you've all been doing this for a long time now. I know it doesn't feel like, I think Michael, I feel like the young kids in this, but we have what's the point in time where you felt like you kind of arrived? Like a point in time where you feel like, okay, I feel accepted by this community. I feel like I have I've figured out what I want to do, something along those lines, you know?
In 1987, I was inducted into the Adventure Gaming Hall of Fame, and Charles S. Roberts gave me my plaque. And that's when I felt, you know, this is really the best I can do. And I'm very pleased to get this kind of recognition.
Good. Well, you might.
Mike?
A couple things. One, the first few years coming to Gen Con, I was trying to, is new industry. I've been gaming, but new industry, new people, and I was trying to find out everybody's name. You know, who are these people? You know, who runs this game? Who runs that game? There were so many games, I was overwhelmed. But about 3 or 4 years into it, people started knowing my name. Peter knew my name. Did you see what happened? Peter knew my name. Stefan knew my name. Lou knew my name. These guys, the guys from Kinzer, they all knew my name. Jolly knows my name. That's when I knew that I'd really broken through a barrier. And then I had an event some years later happen that was really interesting, and it was special because my daughters witnessed it. We went to a wedding in Tucson and sat at a table with some people that had flown in from out of town. And the couple, really nice couple, they're at the show this year, was trying to kind of bond with my daughters. And they said, well, do you read comic books? Trying to, looking for commonality. And they mentioned about comic books, and the girls said, well, we go to Comic Con in San Diego. And this couple said, oh, we've always wanted to go there, but the only game convention we go is to Gen Con. I heard him say Gen Con. So I said, oh, really? And I said, what do you like about Gen Con? Oh, we've been going for years. We just love it. It's the greatest show. And I just wasn't saying anything. And I said, so give me a typical day. What do you do when you get to Gen Con? And God's honest truth, they said, well, the first thing we do when we get to Gen Con is we go to the Crystal Cast booth to get the commemorative dice set. And I said, okay. I said, who put you up to this? And I'm looking, where's the camera? And they said, no, really. And I said, and my girls are looking, and I said, well, I own Crystal Cast. They went nuts. They went nuts. That's another moment that I thought, wow,
That's great.
I've done something. Yeah.
That's good.
This is getting me kind of choked up.
Oh, Barbara.
This is it. This is the weekend. But I know we did it. To get to do the souvenirs for the 50th Gen Con. I mean, not too many people know what Ray and I do. They look at it and that's Gen Con's merch booth. They don't really see Off-World, they see Gen Con. And that's the service that we provide. That's what we do. We're the easy button. And, but this has been the craziest, biggest, most insane thing we've ever done. We've never had to queue people before. We've had a double line every day since Wednesday. And I kind of feel guilty being on a panel while my crew is busting ass. But this is.
Me too.
Yeah, this is the moment where we know it's the top of our game, and we're really proud to be here.
Oh, thank
Wow. What was the question? What was the?
I know. I'm looking for the moment where you instead of always I hope I can become a real company. I hope I can do something that people like. I hope.
When have you made it
in this industry? And then there's a point where you're like, no, I am now. I am in this industry. Recognition of my peers. Whatever it is that was that for you.
I'm with you. It's this year.
It's fun. You've been doing this for 20 years.
21.
You've been doing it for longer.
No, I tell you, the moment I had was actually on Wednesday. And I'm going to get emotional here, too. When I walked into Lucas Oil Stadium, and you put together that thing, the museum, 50 years of Gen Con, and I went over there, and Jesus, man.
Lucas Oil Stadium, Gen Con Museum. Highly recommend you get over there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I don't.
I'm gonna be okay.
A lot of people don't know this, but when I was a little kid, I was more of into sports, and I always wanted to be a football player. And as a little kid, I put on pads, used to go to on the weekends to Randall's Island, play football, and always dreamed to be a football player, but I never grew any bigger. Never grew any bigger, so I went to Plan B, which was to be an artist, and that didn't work out, so I went to Plan C, which was to start Dwarven Forge. And when I walked into Lucas Oil Football Stadium, on the 50-yard line was this glass booth, and Peter's like, "Oh, this is where your setup is going to be to honor the 50th year." And I was like right in the middle, right at the entrance of the museum.
So you made it to the 50-yard line.
I made it. I did. Through the back way, you know. But also, that's when I was so honored that we never get any awards or anything like that, you know, in 21 years. And now I felt that was the biggest, best award I could ever get. And right there, right at the pole position of the museum. And thank you, Peter.
Well, you know, I moved. Well, I'm really glad I did this panel.
Peter, when did you know you made it?
You're not escaping. Yeah.
Well, you know, economically, of course, when Magic came out, you know, sales were so good. But, you know, I think for a long time there was, you know, always struggled with, okay, great, I got this great company. It's a really big company. We're making lots of money. But, you know, nobody would know who Wizards of the Coast was if I wouldn't have met Richard Garfield. And he designed Magic the Gathering, you know. To me, it was like I was really honored to work on it. I loved Magic. I was happy to do it, and I felt like, you know, I did okay as a CEO. Maybe not great, but okay. I mean, I was learning it as I went. I didn't have any experience at it. But when we acquired TSR, and I had a lot more personal involvement with Dungeons and Dragons 3rd edition than I did with Magic, and I made a lot of decisions about who would be on the design team and who was going to lead the effort, and I organized it. I went to all the middle management and executive management that was between me and the designers. I went to Ryan Dancy, I went to Bill Slavisek, I went to head of R&D, Jim Lynn. I told them, all right, you guys are all going to get out of the way. I'm going to have the design team report directly to me. And it came out, it turned out great, and won awards. That was when I felt like, because I felt like that was a product that I had led in a way, right? And so that was what it was for me. To see that company, or that product do well. Until then, I just always wondered if I just got lucky.
That's great.
I'd like to add that I feel that we're all lucky that someone like Peter took the reins at Gen Con and has guided it all these years, because he's such a great guy.
All right, yeah, got a couple questions. A couple questions from the audience. Anybody have some questions for these amazing people that were up here? Oh, yes.
So two things. First of all of you on the stage cost me a ridiculous amount of money. And second of all, my marriage depends on the answer to this question. Can a person have too many dice?
Can a person have too many dice?
No.
No such thing.
No. Lou, you got. You said like poised to say something more about that.
I'd like to tell the story of selling the first 100-sided dice at Gen Con.
Please. Tell us another. Yes.
I knew I had that I was going to make dice about a year before they actually appeared. And I have to do a catalog every year, so I drew a circle and I cross-hatched the circle so that it looked like every face was going to be a diamond. And people started placing orders for the 100-sided dice. And my tool and die maker called me and he said, "Lou, we got a problem. The numbers on the inner ball rotate and they don't stay put underneath the exterior circles that we provided for them to appear under. I'm going to have to make a quick run of about 50 pieces to see why it is that the inner ball is rotating away from the place where it's supposed to be." I said, "Okay." So he made the 50 balls and he mailed them to me. Well, okay, I got some. That's nice. And then I get a telephone call. "This is ABC Hobby Shop in New York City, and I want to know why it is that you're selling 100-sided dice to my fiercest competitor when I placed my order with you more than 6 months ago. Why are you treating me like this? My customers have come in here and told me about my competitor having 100-sided dice. Now, goddammit, you got to give me 100-sided dice too. If you ever have to sell me another thing in your whole life." And I said, "Well, wait a minute. Now, I'm worried. Somebody else has got 100-sided dice in the marketplace." So I said, "What's the phone number of your competitor?" And he gives me the number, and I called the guy up, and I said, "Tell me about your 100-sided dice." He said, "What 100-sided dice?" "You don't have 100-sided dice?" "No." "Oh." So I call back. "Your customers have lied to you. This guy doesn't have any 100-sided dice." He said, "Well, do you have 100-sided dice or not?" I said, "Well, of course I have 100-sided dice." He said, "Well, damn it, send me my order." And I said, "No, you can't, they're not ready yet. We haven't finished solving all the problems with it." "Oh, I don't give a damn about that. Just send me one so I can show my boys that its existence and that it's going to come." I said, "Well, it doesn't have any braking mechanism in it. Don't let them roll it because it won't stop."
Oh my God.
I never realized it. That is kind of an important feature of a die, isn't it? Yeah, it needs to stop.
So he says, "Okay, just send me the one. I won't let him roll it. Just send me the one so I can show him that it's coming." I said, "Well, I really shouldn't do that." "No, come on. And so finally I mailed him one, right? A week passes and I get another phone call from Atlanta. "What the hell's going on? This cop, one of my customers was visiting his mother in New York City and he went to the ABC Hobby Shop and they got 100-sided dice. How come I don't have any 100-sided dice? And if you ever hope to get another order," and he's going on and on, so I mail him one. Then the floodgates open. I'm getting 3, 4, 5 calls a day from people who want the 100-sided dice, and I'm saying to them all, it isn't finished yet. These are just experimental. They don't stop. "Oh, we won't let them roll it. We won't let them roll it. They just want to see what it looks like." So it goes on and on and on. All right, now we got dice, and we bring them to Gen Con, and this is the first time we're really selling 100-sided dice, and I got maybe 4 or 5 colors. The door opens up, kids rush in, and this guy comes right up to my booth, and he looks and he says, "Oh my God, 100-sided dice. Hey, George, they got 100-sided dice." And George shouts out at the top of his lungs, "I saw them damn things in New York City and they don't stop." And every convention I attended since then, there's somebody who feels it's God-given obligation for him to shout out at the top of his lungs, "I saw them bastards and they don't stop."
Oh my God.
Oh, Jesus.
All right, let's give a warm hand for our whole entire family.